Yeah,
Start with that
they won 10
highlight
for the
off the
first
top.
time since 2016,
Will do.
and obviously now they're having a better year. But that's part of that brand value. It had slipped.
KCUB Tucson, a Cumulus media station. This season, Jed Fish will lead the Wildcats into battle, and the only place to hear the game, Wildcats Radio 1290. Bear down, Wildcats fans. This is the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show on Wildcats Radio 1290. Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived. This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Game that we had last week. It's time for redemption. It's time to move forward and take on this team and did that against Washington State. It wasn't good.
Right,
It wasn't good.
right.
So for your kids. And those are the kind of things that show maturity. The NFL scouts are going to like that because they're showing this kid is mature and he's making good, sound decisions for what's best for him, and his family. So those are points that you're going to get you don't get at the combine.
And I say this here too. What was Arizona State thinking?
Yeah, I know.
Who was in charge, or was things falling apart already?
Yeah.
I mean, I know our guy Pierce wasn't there anymore because I'm sure he would have jumped all over a 2,000 yards season having receiver. What ASU? What happened? Y'all fumbled.
Yeah, ASU
Y'all fumbled the ball.
ASU's had a lot of fumbles.
He's
lately.
right at home.
Yeah.
That's the home. Up yet, I think also is causing a problem because it's easier to cover two guys than it is three. Last year we had Dorian Singer, who was a huge part of this offense. Defenses had to worry about him taking the top off of the offense. We got to figure out a way to get Montana Craig, Lemonious. Thank you. Close. Lemonious Craig. We got to get him involved because I think that's going to only open up the run game and open up the receivers more.
Yeah, it's again, Lemonious, Montana Lemonious. Craig came over here from Colorado. He too, and I think it's a comfortability thing. I think it's one of those things where Jaden Delore has to find that comfortability with Montana Lamonius Craig to try to find ways to get him involved in this offense. We just haven't necessarily seen that through the first 2 games. They kind of found each other a few times at the end of the NAU game, but they're just obviously right now Jaden is more comfortable with the 2 guys that he dealt with last year, and that is obviously Jacob Cowing and Tetairoa McMillan. And we one of the major things that I was wanting to see was, 1, who that third receiver was going to be, but 2, were we going to see more than 3 receivers this year? In terms of the wide receivers, we haven't seen that so far because the running backs have been doing such a fabulous job.
Yeah, they're coming out of the backfield, catching the ball. They have probably 20 catches right now.
Yeah.
20 catches, which is really amazing of how many catches they've got. They've done a good job coming out of the backfield, so why not use them? That gives another problem for linebackers, because if they're coming out of the backfield, linebackers are going to make them aware. So that's when we got to start going over the middle, and then you know who that is. That is my tight end.
Yes, sir.
That's my tight end. So let's get those linebackers spread out, and let's go to the other back. Let's go to the other back. I think we need to get to the tight end. That's what I think. We always come back with me. It's always back to the tight end. Yes,
Right.
it is.
And I'll say this, and I'll add to this, and I'll say also the offensive coordinator, which is the head coach, has to call plays that you look at that third receiver first. Right now, it looks like Delora is comfortable with the guys who were already here last year. Again, as you said before, with Cowing, Wiley coming out of the backfield, there's a rapport that these guys have. I think another thing with Lamonius.
Yes.
Okay. Lamonius Craig. I think another thing, he did not go to spring ball.
Yes,
People don't understand. He only had the summer to get ready, and it's kind of hard to get ready in the summer when you already got 3 or 4 weapons that you're used to, getting the ball to.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's exactly what it is right there. And we just, so far, have not seen the emergence of not only that number 3 receiver, but that number 2 receiver, due to the fact that Jaden also is checking down a lot to his running backs. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we have our offensive scouting report. That'll be coming up in our next segment. In fact, let's tell you a little bit about what we've got coming up for you today on the program.
Let's take a look at the Right Way Rundown and see what's coming up on our pregame show, brought to you by Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Doing things the right way.
All right, our Right Way Rundown for today's show, and we've got some exciting guests. It is Arizona game day, and I am David Kelly, joined as always by my top letterman, Glenn Howe, U of A football class 5. He is the one on the right of your screen, Kelvin Efon, U of A football class of 1998. He is the one on the left of your screen. And fellas, let's dive in to this week's offensive scouting report.
Here is the Wildcat.
Throw it away. Don't try to get it in tight. Get yourself going. Maybe a little couple, dump passes and things like that, and just check downs and get it going. And then let's see if we can get to the guys and let's get them on the run. That's what we got to do. We got to get these guys to hit them in the hands when they're on the run.
Yeah, and I think you just have to, be a little bit more patient. I think sometimes you want to push the ball down the field. You want to force the ball down the field. You want big plays, but a lot of times some of them big plays will come from just dumping it down to the running backs and to those tight ends and forcing those guys to actually guard them, to have to play those guys so you can get your receivers back into one-on-one. Whenever I hear a quarterback having to force the ball in the tight windows, that tells me that 2 or 3 more defenders are around that guy, and we probably should take that football somewhere else.
All right, well, one thing we know for sure, as we saw last week, Jedd Fisch has a lot of confidence in his quarterback. That has not changed in the slightest.
But nothing's going to change. We're going to keep slinging it. We're going to keep running our offense. I've seen him play for 2 years. I've seen him practice every day. I've never seen 2 balls, one of them, the interception, the first interception bounced off of a guy's chest 4 yards forward and into linebacker's hands. I never thought I'd see that twice, but I saw it twice in the same game. And then the interception on the corner route.
the footwork, if your footwork is not right, your body is not going to be in the right position.
yeah.
Okay, so that's the thing that you have to be able to understand. If your base is not good, you fall down. You know, you're not going to have a very strong base. If you're outside your frame, things like that, where you know you just got to have your footwork right and be able to be in a power position. So it's real important on the footwork. And
I'll add this with that, Glenn. He's 6'8", right?
Yeah,
he's
and
6'8".
that's it.
So I think that has a lot to. Passing game, it helps establish that we're not here to be messed around with.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think this is the run game really establishes some toughness. And, you know who's done that, has exemplified what they do and what they are is Utah. Utah.
Yeah, like,
Utah.
Yeah.
As I said, you know, hey, We're running the ball. I don't care who you line up there. I don't care if you put 6 Mack trucks up in front. We're coming.
And I add to that because Utah understands, the head coach understands the type of attitude you have to win at a school like that.
Yes.
That's what Arizona used to do,
Yep.
right? You had to have a certain type of attitude. Your team had to have a certain type of attitude to be able to beat these teams with the big 5-star type of guys.
All right, I think we need to get a break in before Kelvin gets ready to suit up a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
And we're going in the huddle next, right?
Let's take a time out. We are going in the huddle next with Jay Dobbins. That wraps up our offensive scouting report for today.
That's the Wildcats Offensive Scouting Report. The Offensive Scouting Report is brought to you by O'Reilly Chevrolet. O'Reilly Chevrolet, get more with O'Reilly Chevrolet. Bear down, Wildcats fans. This is the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show on Wildcats Radio 1290. Brought to you by Meridian Wealth Management. Wealth well managed, life well lived. This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290. KCUE Tucson, a Cumulus media station. This season, Jed Fish will lead the Wildcats into battle, and the only place to hear the game, Wildcats Radio 1290.
As Arizona's leading personal injury law firm for more than 30 years, Goldberg & Osborne agrees, bear down, Arizona. With offices statewide, including 5 in Tucson and Southern Arizona, the Eagle gives you home field advantage. More than 1,800 5-star Google reviews prove Goldberg & Osborne has the playbook for any situation. So after any accident, let the attorneys voted best personal injury law firm tackle that insurance company and get you the settlement you deserve. Goldberg & Osborne, 1-800-THE-EAGLE.
Cantina nachos, strawberry watermelon margaritas, a few zombie kills, and all your favorite sports teams live. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can eat, drink, play, and watch all the sports you want. They've got massive HD TVs, hundreds of the hottest new games.
Wildcats Radio 1290. Let's go in the huddle with Arizona letterman Glenn Howell. In the Huddle with Howell is brought to you by Kaiser Garage Door and Gates. Kaiser celebrating 25 years serving Arizona.
Welcome to this week's edition of In the Huddle with Howell, presented by Kaiser Garage Door and Gates. This week, we got my boy Jay Dobbins, class of 1984, honorable mention all Pac-10 wide receiver. Jay Dobbs, what's happening? How you doing? Are you there?
B. Powell, hey, thanks. Yeah, I'm here, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Jay. How's everything going with you, man?
Dude, it's a great day, and I'm excited to watch the Cats win a football game tonight.
So everybody, Jay Dobbins played in 1984, was a wide receiver, 83, 84. He was a transfer from Arkansas and came back here when they could transfer, but didn't you have to sit out a year, Jay? Jay, are you there?
Fight for it.
Did you have to sit out a year when you coming over from Arkansas?
Yeah, mandatory. And if you did, it was mandatory to sit out for a year. If you transferred in conference, you had to sit out 2 years.
Oh my gosh! Just think about now. You'd be there. You'd be playing the next day. The transfer portal now. So
you can have breakfast at one college in the morning and dinner at another college that night.
Absolutely. That's the different thing is what's happening now. So, Jay, what are you doing now? You were the coach at Tanker Verde. Are you still coaching now? Are you doing any coaching now?
I am. I'm coaching at Saguaro High School, which was my alma mater. A good friend of mine, Al Alexander, is the head coach there now. And invited me to try to help him. So, I'm back at Saguaro.
So,
That's
Jay,
where it started.
So, Jay, tell me, why is it so important for you to come back and coach? What floats your boat? What gets you going about coaching?
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you what, Glenn. It's actually selfish. It's selfish reasons. I get more out of coaching than I'm able to give to the kids that I coach. I love being around those kids. I love, youthful enthusiasm is contagious. And, I only wish that I could give back to the kids what they give to me by allowing them to be out on the grass with them.
And Jay, what do you tell them when they're talking about they want to play at the next level? And what kind of advice do you give them? Because, right now you look at the landscape now for a high school player. There's so much competition. You got the 7-on-7s, you got the star ratings, you got everything that's happening. What do you tell an athlete today? What is your advice to them to be able to get recognized and be able to go to the next level?
My advice is pretty consistent, and it's pay attention and focus on where your feet are at any given moment, wherever you are. Every day, you have to make that your best day. If you're at practice, every rep you take, you have to try to win and improve. Every drill you're in, try to win and improve. Every session, every 7-on-7, every team drill, translate all that to games. And if you can do that, your opportunities beyond high school will take care of themselves.
Absolutely. And Jay, and I tell some of my athletes, I tell them I have this thing called the 90% rule. Anytime you are doing a rep, 90% of those reps should be freaking perfect reps so you can get better. If you're just, slacking, because you count the reps that you have. And Kelvin, you'll know about this too, is that when you're practicing how many reps, you don't get that many reps.
No.
So
reps are like gold.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. So you got to be able to be perfect in those reps and getting close to that 90%. No one's going to be 100%. but 90% is what you really need to be trying to shoot for.
Well, and you guys know from having lived this, that old saying, practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Jay, Kelvin here. I always be talking about captains and leadership. How important do you think it is? And I'm talking about at the Wildcats level right now, because with all the new transfers that are coming into the different teams, how important it is for the leaders of that team to welcome everybody in and to show them the way that you want things done.
Kelvin, always good to talk to you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's where it begins and ends. You know, leadership. You talk about the coaches, and you talk about in-game leadership. You know, that leadership, it starts in the locker room. It starts when there's no coaches around, and what message is being sent, what standards are being sent, and leaders holding their teammates accountable for the program, accountable to the program, and responsible for the program.
We're talking to Jay Dobbins, University of Arizona wide receiver, class of 1984, in the huddle with Hal. Jay, tell me what you're thinking of what our wide receivers have been doing this season at the U of A.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty amazing group and a deep group, and a group that's getting recognized nationally, like on an individual basis with those Bolitnikoff Award lists, and then collectively as the Arizona receivers group. I'm super proud of them. As someone who played the position, man, it's easy to sit back and admire watching those guys work.
I had a question. How important do you think it is to get a replacement receiver for Singer's position? Right now, we got Luminous. I'm wrong. Lamonius. Craig. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
Craig. We have him as the third receiver. We haven't really been able to get him involved, and we haven't been able to get our other T-Mac McLaughlin, the tight end, really involved either yet. How important do you think that's going to be for to be able to open up Cowan and T-Mac on the outside?
Well, I think it's super important because you deflect the attention off those big two. The transfer from Colorado, man, I saw his spring football game. That kid's a football player. He's going to pop. And then, Glenn will love this. A tight end is a quarterback's best friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the guy who's making himself big and showing the quarterback his numbers. And within close proximity of the quarterback. So we really need to get McLaughlin, start getting the ball into that kid's hands and lighten up some of the pressure on Cowan and T-Mac.
Absolutely. We're talking to Jay Dobbins, class of 1984, as our guest is in the huddle with Hal, brought to you by Kaiser Doors and Gates. Kaiser celebrating 25 years of serving Arizona. Jay Dobbs. So Jay, now you're coaching, you're doing some other stuff. I know you're getting on the speaking circuit again. How's that going for you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's good. I translate my personal story and some of the experiences I've had to the audiences I speak to. And, so much of what all of us go through, regardless of our profession, there's really so many common themes that fit everybody. So that's what I try to do. I try to take my story, translate it, and help it make sense to the audience. I talk about my successes, my failures, the things that I enjoyed, my regrets, and that's what adds up to a life, hopefully a life well lived.
Yeah, and Jay, you've done a lot of that talking to these guys, and we talk about our law enforcement people out there. They go through a lot of mental stuff. There's a lot of things that's going on because there's so much stuff that hits those guys, making those quick decisions and making those decisions, life and death decisions. I had a little taste with you when I was doing on that Yogi task force, doing some things. Do you miss that stuff at all? Do you miss it? I know you had a team there, and then you had, you have a team with your football team. But do you miss being in that situation, in those situations now?
The same thing I miss about my law enforcement career is the same thing I miss about my sports career. It's not the adventures, it's not the games, it's not the undercover assignments. It's the people. It's always the people, and I think like once those parts of your life are gone, you realize really the very most important part of those events in your life are the relationships you have and the friends you build.
Yeah, you got lifetime friends, just like we have lifetime friends, for our football team. You talk to I talked to Danny Lockett last night, who was a fourth-round pick, I think it was a sixth-round pick for the Detroit Lions. He played with us here, and I ain't talked to him in 40 years. And me and D-Lock, in like 5 minutes, we were talking the same stuff to each other. Like if we were in the locker room. So you earn those lifelong friendships playing in grinding in the heat and in the games and everything, and it's something that you'll never forget, and I'm sure you never forget those guys in law enforcement as well as in University of Arizona.
Well, like I wouldn't compare a law enforcement career or a sports career necessarily to a military career, but there are similarities in that you bond and you grow to love people that you suffer alongside in pursuit of a common goal or a mission.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Jay, what do you think about the score tonight? What's your prediction tonight?
Well, you know what? These like out of conference games are so trippy, man. And I played in two like pretty important ones in Arizona's history, at least in the Larry Smith era. I was on the team that went to South Bend and beat Notre Dame in '82, but I was also on the team that went to Baton Rouge as well as you were, Glenn, and lost to LSU 27-26.
Yep.
So these outer conference games are super hard to predict. But I'm gonna say Arizona is at least 17 points better than UNLV or than UTEP.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think we should be up there, and I think we should put a hurting on them because I want to run the ball, but a hurting on them, that's what I want to do. I've been saying it for weeks, Jay. Jay, we want to thank you for coming on. We want to thank Arizona football legend Jay Dobbins for joining us this week in the Huddle with Hal. Jay, I appreciate you, man. I love you, man, and hope to see you soon. And bear down, brother.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Kelvin. Love you guys, man. All the best. Bear down.
Yes, sir. Bear down.
That's In the Huddle with Howell. Brought to you by Kaiser Garage Door and Gates. Kaiser celebrating 25 years serving Arizona. This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you in part by Advanced Auto Care, Crest Insurance Group, Desert Diamond Casinos, First Chiropractic, Frog and Firkin, Kaiser Garage Doors and Gates, Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating and Plumbing, the Pulse the Results team with Keller Williams, Southern Arizona, Royal GMC Buick and Cadillac, Royal Kia, Royal Jaguar Land Rover, and the Window Depot.
Day in.
lived. This is the home of the Arizona Wildcats. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Continue to have consistency. It's tough at this level to really be a consistent player every game. It's tough. The great ones do it, but it's really tough to do it every single game. And when you have competition, that's when you really have to perform.
And I'm gonna cut you off right there. Every single game, but it's every single practice when you have competition,
that was
right?
my next
okay,
thing.
all right, you're right.
That's right. It's competition in practice because, I remember, one thing that I had when I was in high school was my coach, Gary Clark. He would do that, and it was, I had Jack Del Rio, Donnie Wakamatsu on the same team. We had to go one-on-one with the guy, second team guy, and if you didn't beat him, you didn't start that week. Every week.
Challenge.
Even Jack, sometimes the guy with the hard tester. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be the guy you got beat this week. So those are the kind of guy you got to step it up every week, man. I mean, it's at this level because there's always someone behind you trying to get your spot, man.
Yeah, it is, man. And I thought Flo had an impressive game as well. Just the thump on the end of it. It's one thing to tackle guys, but when you see a guy thumping guys and knocking them backwards, I was impressed. I was waiting to see it. He seemed like a guy that was, watching him in practice and, and watching interviews. He seemed like a guy that was a little high strung.
Yeah,
but I love to see guys go and make it happen and go and put their money where their mouth is at. Okay, so, he had a lot of characters and different things going on, superheroes and stuff that he talked about. But right. But he went out there and actually played ball, man, and you have to be impressed with that.
I just think that if that was on the '98 team and he said that, I think you would have had a conversation.
Yeah, I would have
with
pulled
him.
it. Was sidebar.
I would have pulled him in a
Sidebar.
It would have been a sidebar, Texas style.
Yeah, because you already know how I feel about those characters when they get up there with the, start acting, changing voices and acting fake tough. I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
All right, let's hear from one Mr. Justin Flo, who was thankful for his opportunity.
In the words of a coach. You heard we. I thought he was from France for a second there because he's talking about the team coming together, making plays, doing. He's not talking about Justin Flo or whatever him or whoever the other characters are. He's talking about the actual player, the actual team making plays. He didn't say anything about not being on the field at that play. I thought that was smart.
Yeah.
Also, I thought that was unselfish because usually a guy would be like, yeah, I was making all the plays. I think the old him probably said, why I wasn't on the field. Yeah, you're right. I should have been there. So it's just exciting to see him mature. Sometimes a little bench time do that to you. Sometimes when things don't go your way, it brings up a better character out of you. So he could have went the wrong way, and you could have had a problem in another transfer. Usually what goes on with a lot of these guys, but he stuck it out. He waited his turn. He got his opportunity, and he made a play. And the most important thing he said was he's waiting on his next time to make sure he's ready to make the next play. So that's what I want to hear, man. I want to hear it be about the team, about we, not about me.
Well, it's interesting. He was on the field for the second down play on the overtime drive where they put them behind the sticks to 2nd and 14. He came off the field. Daniel Humuli came on, and we all know what happened next.
Yeah, I don't have a highlight for them.
All right, so the touchdown run there, 4.3. If we still have that, maybe we don't. So the touchdown happened there, 29-yard run. Here it is now.
Now Marks, who started wide right, will come up and go in motion. Looking to throw, and they'll dump it off. Caught inside, breaking a tackle. Pittman, he's loose at the 20, 15, 10, 5, and in. Touchdown, Mississippi State. The Wildcats had him. He got away.
Oh, they had him.
They had him. That was Daniel Humuli. I asked Johnny Nansen this week what he said to Daniel Humuli afterward about that play.
Just don't hesitate. You know, the call was for you to hug the back. Go hug the back. You know, if he would have just, do what he does at practice, it probably would pick the ball. You know what I mean? And then when you get in position to make the tackle.
the
Yes,
linebacker scraping and makes the tackle on Sweet D. You know, it's
Right.
just like, you know, that happens, you know, and then the coach yells at you because you did everything right beginning. You do your assignment butt to butt, do your double team, get up on the linebacker, and then you just don't finish with your technique.
And the problem that he had in Flo showed that what he was doing so great, he didn't run through the tackle. Run through the tackle means you run through the hip of the guy. He ended up diving at the feet. You don't want to look at these guys' feet because their feet are a little quick. They can juke you real easily. You want to run through that hip right there. But I guarantee you what else happened right there, it wasn't a run play. I think Flo is more of a run stop type of guy, and I think it was a pass. It was a passing down. It was a passing down, so that's why Humuli was in there. Just didn't make a play, and it happens sometimes, you know, in football.
Yeah, and we don't know what we don't know. I don't think we know. I don't know of the technique of what if Justin has the great hips, because that's what you have to have when you're in pass protection. I mean, you're pass defense. You got to be able to turn your hips and run. And maybe that's what Hemley got a little bit better.
I Garrett, that's not a strength of Flo. Flo is a downhill player.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't want him worried about backs and different things like that
and
right now.
That's the thing that you got to be able to know what your deficiencies are, and then get better at that.
Yes,
and I think Nansen knew what was the situation. With good for Coach Nansen to understand that and get that substitute in.
Right.
All right, guys, let's give the folks an assessment of what we've got coming up in this particular hour of the show.
Let's take a look at the Right Way Rundown and see what's coming up on our pregame show, brought to you by Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Doing things the right way.
All right, still ahead, we're going to check in on your NCAA and U of A scoreboard, your college football scoreboard. A big win today by Missouri. You'll hear that dramatics coming out of Columbia, Missouri today. We're going to go in the captain's corner, and Adrian Koch is going to join us from the class of 2000 today. Kelvin?
Oh, yeah, Adrian Koch, great teammate, great guy. Excited to have him on. Always got to get him on at least once a year because I love having captains that are from Tucson. I love that hometown feel of the type of heart that you play with.
But before we do that, also scheduled around 5 o'clock, Kadeem Carey is going to join us. So we may try to see if we can get into that segment a little bit early so that we can have a little bit more time to chat with the all-time leading rusher here at the University of Arizona. Also, we're going to be giving away tickets. So if you need tickets to tonight's game, come by here to where we are located. We are on the east end of the mall. You need to sign up to win the tickets. You need to come back at 5:30. We're going to have a question for you to answer. If you can answer that question, you're going to have a 4-pack of tickets to tonight's game between the Wildcats and the UTEP Miners. So again, come back or come sign up here and then come back about 5:30, which is about 45 minutes from now. We're going to draw those tickets to win for a chance to go to tonight's game. All right, we are on the mall, on the east side. It's a big red tent. You can't miss us. This is the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show, and that is our defensive scouting report for today.
And that's a look at the Wildcats' defensive scouting report for today's game.
After throw, here comes the rush again. He's sacked by Jacob Anu.
This is Arizona football on Wildcats Radio 1290. This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you in part by Blue Whale Car Wash, Caruso's Italian Restaurant, Cool Willie's Hair and Plumbing, The Diamond Store, Goldberg and Osborne, Goodfellas AC, Humane Society of Southern Arizona, Lexus of Tucson, Nova Home Loans, Recon Auto Detail, Ride Now Power Sports Tucson, and the Tucson Police Department.
If you're a do-it-yourselfer looking for quality car parts in Tucson, look no further. Advance Auto Parts has 6 Tucson locations with over 75 years in business. Advance Auto Parts is the largest car parts retailer in the U.S., and customers know they can trust their products, like Die-Hard batteries. Now with free installation, only found at Advance Auto Parts stores. Take advantage of our same-day delivery and pickup. Just visit our website at stores.advanceautoparts.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Advance Auto Parts for all your car repair needs. Now a proud radio sponsor of the University of Arizona Wildcats.
The Window Depot is proud to sponsor the first look at today's game and would like to invite Arizona Wildcat fans to visit one of their Tucson warehouses. The Window Depot provides over 1,000 in-stock vinyl windows, interior and exterior doors, plus granite and quartz countertops, and a huge selection of custom cabinetry, all at the lowest prices in town. Consider the Window Depot your MVP when it comes to your home improvement needs. Stores are open Monday through Saturday, or order online at thewindowdepot.com. The Window Depot, more than a window store.
Broadway in Tucson presents the Rockin' 2023-2024 season featuring 8 blockbuster productions including Disney's Aladdin, The Book of Mormon, Hairspray, and Chicago. Enjoy the Southern Arizona musical premieres of Tina, the Tina Turner musical, Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Time of the Temptations, MJ the Musical, and Mrs.
And welcome back here to the U of A Mall. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Game Day pregame show. I'm David Kelly, joined by my guys here, Calvin E.
Just want to get a look at early in the year. So I think that's probably more of the situation there where they're trying to create competition at the positions.
Yeah, and you remember DJ was a starter. He was, during spring they were projecting him as a starter. So, he comes into camp and then he has some competition, and that's the way it is now. I mean, this is the first time in a long time that University of Arizona has got competition everywhere.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing that it does is it'll make a guy like Irby or DJ figure out who's going to be the guy. Because you make those type of mistakes, you're going to get pulled. And as a former player myself, when I was in those situations where I knew if I fumbled, I may not see the field again, it make you tighten up on your game. It tighten up on your fundamentals. So hopefully from what I've seen from Irby so far, he seems like a guy that got his head on straight. Hopefully he looks at this and takes that little bit of a punishment and learn from it and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Well, let's play the big play he had in the ball game, and I want to talk a little bit about this play as well.
Pistol set. Marks behind Rogers. 4th and goal at the Arizona 4. Rogers play fake. Throws it. It's caught. Robinson breaks the tackle, but not another one, and fumbled the ball into the end zone, but he was down. Or is that a touchback? That'll be a touchback as he fumbled the ball through the end zone and out of bounds, and the Wildcats will take over.
So, we had an interesting analysis from our guy Dragon Ball earlier in the week, and he kind of categorized it as he felt like maybe one of the issues with Martell Irby is he's got what he called Seau syndrome, is that he's not necessarily where he's supposed to be, but he has the athleticism at times to make up for his mistakes, because it was clear that he bit on the inside move, the inside fake on that particular play there, and was out of position. He was supposed to be the guy on the edge with the contain there, because you had, I believe it was Daniel Humuli blitzing off the edge there. He went into the middle with the rest of the pack, but he had the athleticism to make up for it and still be able to make a play. But at the end of the day, it looks good. It looks good to everybody, all of us watching it. Man, he made a great play there, forced the fumble, saved a touchdown, but he was out of position. He wasn't reading, as you mentioned either, he didn't read his keys right there, and that is worthy still, even though you made the play, that's worthy of, hey, son, you got to do better in that situation.
Yeah, and you got to understand each one has an assignment and alignment. you have to be able to, for the guy next to you to be successful,
Trust
you got to be able to be trusted. You're going to do your job. Because
Welcome into this week's edition of the Captain's Corner, presented by Ram Plumbing. I'm Kelvin Efon. Our guest today is Captain Adrian Koch, a linebacker from the class of 2000 here at the U of A. How you doing today, Adrian?
Hey, not bad, K.E. What's going on?
Oh, man, not much, man. I was saying earlier, man, I always love to have you on, man, because you're a two-son man. I would say two-son kid back in the day, but you're a two-son man that walked on to the football team and earned a scholarship and ended up a starter and being a valuable member of the team. So I love having you on for that personal connection to the city. Tell me a little bit about that experience, man. I mean, for the people that don't know your story.
I joined the Marine Corps, had to get up a little bit bigger, and from there walked on, and Coach told me, gave me a chance. You know, he loves walk-ons. The Arizona history of walk-ons is precedented in the nation, with Chuck Cecil, David Sipp, myself, Barrett Baker, just all-around guys that want to play football and have a chip on their shoulder.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How did it feel to be named team captain that year when you was named team captain? After again, military background, walk on. Don't too many of those guys end up captains. Talk a little bit about the feeling of becoming a captain.
Man, talk about an honor of having your peers and your teammates, your coaches. It's the biggest statement that they could make for myself being a captain, being named captain, and just all the hard work that you put in for the 4 years that you sat down behind guys that were outstanding like Marcus Bell, Chester Burnett, just guys that were outstanding, and then you get your shot and you become a captain for the team, and just shows the ultimate respect for the guys that they believe in you.
Yes, sir. You mentioned Coach Tomey a little earlier. Coach Akina is back around, which gives us that feeling of some of our old coaches that are that we played with back in the day, and he's back around now. Tell me how important you think that is for the group of DBs and just the defense as a whole.
Well, Coach Akina is, just an all-star coach. Going to be one of the best out there in the nation. Just gets young men to believe in themselves and play at a higher level. I mean, he's the ultimate coach that has intensity, that knows the game, that understands the process, and just develops DBs to go to the next level, which is outstanding.
Yes, he is, man. Great coach there. You were an undersized linebacker, started next to what was I think? Yeah, Antonio. No, you were Antonio Pierce. It was Lance Briggs, right?
Yeah, so I had Lance and Antonio,
okay.
And then I was the whip linebacker.
Yes, sir. And so tell me, you seen Jake Manu out there, the linebacker, a little undersized. You were an undersized linebacker. You see Manu out there. What do you think of him and some of the play that you've seen from him from last year to this year? What do you think of him?
Man, I like his intensity. I like the way he runs around. He's putting himself in good position. Being undersized, you got to be in the right spot at the right time. Use your technique. You're not going to beat the 350-pound lineman, but if you get around him and you're in the right spot, that kid's firing around all over the place. And, very, very just excited to see him, man. I mean, he's developing into what we call a tackling machine.
Yeah, and so me and Glenn have been talking about this for a few years. For a little while there, we seemed to lose a connection on our linebackers. I thought linebacker, besides DB, because DB, we've always had great DBs, corners, safeties. But to me, linebackers, we always had pro linebackers. We always had great linebackers. Tell me, what do you feel about, what you think happened there for a little while where we didn't have those type of guys, those tackling machines that we're used to?
Well, you look at your front too. You're getting guys that that are bigger now in this year's class, and they're soaking up those big linemen that aren't getting up to our second level. So now that frees up your linebackers to be able to engage the running backs and do a little bit more of what they're designed to do, tackle.
Yeah, and are there any other guys on the offense or the defensive side of the ball that you kind of take to or whatever? You know how we always have our guys, whether it be a guy wearing our number or it's a guy that's just out there just being effective just from the way that they play or kind of remind you of yourself a little bit. Any guys out there that you see that that could play with us?
Oh man, well you got that McMillan kid who's a stud. 6'5", can catch anything and got great radius. He's patient too. He's not greedy. He's not saying, "Hey, I need the ball." When it comes to him, he's making the great plays. I think our defense is doing a tremendous job as far as being able to recognize the what's going on now. And we're seeing guys firing around in all cylinders and going all over the place and playing with speed that we used to play with. Right. So it's good to see that. And then we just I love Wiley. That kid's a stud.
Yeah.
Runs hard, quick but powerful too.
Adrian, this is Glenn. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Glenn? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, my brother. Doing good. Hey, so what do you think? When you were playing, okay? Tell me what you think. What created the aggressiveness that you played on that defense? What created that in your practice setting?
Well, practice was like playing football. We practice hard, we play hard. You play at the right speed. You don't wait for game speed. You're playing practice speed all the time. And then our scheme was great. Everyone knew their assignments. Everyone knew what they were doing. And when 11 guys know what 11 guys are supposed to do on the same page, you create havoc for an offense.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
I didn't forget to bring this up, but I definitely want to talk to you about this. Tell me, what are some of your thoughts about that 25th anniversary of that 12-1? I know people might get tired of hearing it, but I never will. So tell me a little bit about that team and what made that team so special, and what are some of your memories that you have from so long ago? And can you believe that we still have the best record in school history after all this time?
Yeah, that was a special year. I'll tell you what. Talk about the stars aligning and everything. It's one of those things where we had guys that believed in each other. It was a family. We had studs too. Chris McAllister. We had OJ, and two-headed monster on offense. So they couldn't really game plan us. Our defensive line was stout. We got great DBs. Tron Kennedy as a running back, come on. I mean, yourself being the fullback, team captains that just energize everyone, and you played for each other. You played for the coaches. You played for Tucson, and you had something to prove to the Pac-10 at the time. And being 12-1, you 12-1 now, you're going to the national championship. It's amazing how we went to the Holiday Bowl and we didn't get to the bigger stage, but 25 years ago, we were on top of the world, and it still feels like it was just yesterday.
And also, getting back to, the aggressiveness, you go to practice now, and you really kind of see a lot of thump. I think it takes a couple of games, Adrian, to get the aggressiveness of your defense and your offense to start to get really physical. Because you just can't do that. And when I played, we'd have full line every week. Tuesday and Wednesday, we're doing full line. So we're going 100%. It's the ones against the ones, twos against the twos. And it was just physical. It was absolutely physical. And I just don't know if they're doing that now more, because when I go to practice, it's kind of like it's thump.
Right.
Yeah, when we played, I mean, the twos wanted to prove to the ones that they were better than the ones sometimes on defense. And you're going up against Calvin Ephon, Tron Kennedy, and you're trying to stop that offense. Give them a good look. And we just took. It was full contact. Nowadays it's a little bit different. They're taking care of their student athletes a little bit more. But at the same time, you go to practices now, and you do hear some. There's something going on with Arizona football, and it's a good thing that's going on over there.
Adrian, I know you have a son playing football. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on with. I know you've been enjoying that a little bit. I've been catching a little bit on Facebook.
Yeah, so I have a junior at South Point High School. He's a quarterback. He's getting some back end reps, but he's ready to play when he gets his name called, and just very, very excited for him. He's becoming a young man that is instilled into the academics and into the sports, and just very proud of him as far as that's concerned. When he gets his chance, I know he's going to shine, and it's one of those things where I just sit back and relax and enjoy the process of what he's being, the maturation of him being a young man and doing the right thing.
Yeah, we all know, as you know, it sometimes it takes that little time, and you got to stay ready. And when that time comes, you got to get out there and make a play. So excited to hear that he's out there getting his share of the game with you, because sometimes with that father-son relationship, it's cool to kind of have some things in common that you could talk about there. What else you been having going on, Adrian?
I got my other son at Walden Grove, basketball, little kid. So, I got to split time with a football and a basketball kid. So it's really cool. Two different sports, and I'm not known for hoops, but my youngest is, and you got to share time with both of them, and you got to let them know that Dad's there for them. And it's important that men are around their son, and just developing them, letting them know that you're there to support them and give them all the possibilities in the world.
So it's the greatest thing when you get to be able to watch your kids, man. And you got to enjoy that. I miss that so much, watching my daughter and my son play their sports, and they grow up fast, Adrian. So you enjoy it as much as you can, man, because it'll be gone just like that. It'll be, it seems like it was, it's so long ago that I saw my kids watching them playing, my daughter playing volleyball, and my son playing football. It just goes so fast, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying every moment of it. From high school. High school is just awesome for these boys, and I'm very proud that I get to watch them and see them grow and experience their joys and their trials and tribulations. It's pretty awesome.
Yes. So Adrian, another thing I wanted to ask you about: what game did we play that year in that 12-1 season that was huge to you? What game that you thought that was the game to make you realize that this was a special team?
Ooh, man, I'll tell you what, it was. Well, I mean, the last one when we beat Nebraska, they had us losing to Nebraska, but the Arizona State game was an amazing game. That was the last one that that propelled us up there. But believe it or not, it was the UCLA game. Even though we lost that game, we jumped up on them, and all of a sudden, it's one of those things where 4 plays later, they're beating us. Deshaun Foster, I don't know what happened, but we turn around and all of a sudden we're losing.
Right.
And we could have tucked tail and just sank the ship, but instead we rallied and we didn't lose after that. And that's something where you go through adversity and you check each other, and we look at each other in the eyes, and we saw a team that was going to be resilient, that wasn't going to fail anymore. And that's what took us to the top. Maybe having to lose that one game just solidified, hey, we are a good team. We're a great team, and we're going to be better.
U of A linebacker Adrian Koch, class of 2000, is our guest in the Captain's Corner, brought to you by Ram Plumbing. When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double. Adrian, man, just was a great teammate, man. I remember you coming in from the military background, and just when I first seen you, I said, that's a Tommy guy.
Yeah.
when I first seen you, I said, that's a Tommy guy, man. And I remember, man, you was coming down, running down, busting wedges, trying to figure out a position. Was you a DB? Were you a linebacker? And I just thought Coach Tommy was always great at finding people, whether it be of all just sizes and shapes and ethnicities. He just found people and was able to put them together and figure it out. Tell me, what was special about Coach Tommy to you? What was special about Coach Tommy to you?
He looked at every man and every young athlete, and he saw potential in them. He never gave up on them. He always saw the goodness in people. And if you were willing to work for him, he was willing to give you a chance. And when you say, you're a Tommy guy, that's something very special to hear, because Dick Tomey was a special man, and he still carries a lot of weight in my life and the way I bring my boys up. And I'm pretty sure you're the same way,
Yes,
KE.
sir. Yes, sir.
As far as just being blessed to have him as your coach, as your father figure, for those 4 years that we're in college. He never let anyone down, and when he spoke, you listened. You listened and you heard it, and it went straight to your heart.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Adrian, again. Our thanks to Arizona football captain Adrian Koch for joining us this week in the Captain's Corner. Always great to have you on, Adrian.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yes, sir.
Bear down,
brother.
Yes, sir, Glenn. Have a good one, guys.
All right.
And that's your Captain's Corner with Kelvin Efon. Brought to you by Ram Plumbing. When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double. This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you in part by Blue Whale Car Wash, Caruso's Italian Restaurant, Cool Willie's Air and Plumbing, The Diamond Store, Goldberg and Osborne.